And we are in. Outstanding. Excellent. So now,
And that's Reckless
Kolemon
Flurry on the
has
blue.
indeed taken the Reckless Flurry onto blue. So obviously he believes in the strength of this deck to be able to play from the blue coin. And let's have a look and see how it goes. It also, the other interesting thing with this leader, it would change your mulligan somewhat. There's some obvious things. For example, yeah, you don't want a bricked raiding fleet in your hand. That doesn't seem
so that has
like
been solved, and you are not breaking into that as well.
Yeah, we do discard the Skjordal, very standard discard target.
Is
he going to go
what
Invader?
are you
War
usually doing
Clans?
with War of Clans in round 1?
Yeah, it's interesting. He may think that HANNSU has enough control to where he'll probably give him a War of Clans, or he may just decide, I'm not going to play every card in this round 1, and I am going to try and win it with, 5 or 6 bronzes, but may decide to pass at that point and let HANNSU commit a big card if there is a points gap here.
The problem was there was no Broker Hunter in hand to to give a target. Killing Marauder is not the priority, and there is no other. But he decided to keep the War of Clans, so making a bomb, moving the boat away from the front row, making it a less superior back row boat.
Yeah, back row boats are worse than front row boats, chat. So now the boat is in the back row, it will do nothing, just like the other boat. Flipping aside, obviously we do see another proactive play out of Kolemon and being able to set up the radar. But after that, if there is another no unit style of play from HANNSU, we do indeed see the Damarating Bomb coming out. It is slightly awkward now for Kolemon to play proactively, having kicked that Invader. It is either going to be a Berserker or Totem in all likelihood we see coming out of him. We do indeed see the Berserker. But it'll be interesting to see if HANNSU has any more ability to essentially refuse to play a unit and refuse to give the Skellige damage cards any sort of value.
Yeah,
now taking a moment to think.
There was only so many uninteractive plays. But yeah, Kolemon continues to play front row. I guess there is a Bowman in the list, because the Bowman is a pretty decent full P bronze, so...
So now, not quite no unit, but almost as irritating. Everyone's best friend, the Pyrotechnician, the god of making Skellige feel really annoyed about the damage they're about to waste.
Yeah, but there is a 1-point ship that will act as a magnet for the Pyro click, right?
Of course, true. We must always assume that the ship is going to get hit by this Pyro. Do we believe, chat? Do we believe in Kolemon's magnetism and power to get this ship to take this Pyro click? We have a drum roll, ladies and gentlemen, in the audience.
Is it happening that soon, though? Ah, yeah.
He might wait to click it, but the problem is if he waits to click it, it can theoretically just be killed, right?
Yeah.
But HANNSU's having a wait to think about it. Obviously, yeah, not seeing HANNSU's hand, we're just going to be kind of, as they would say in poker, sweating with Kolemon. We're going to see everything from his perspective. And so we will not know what HANNSU has in his hand at any given moment. But we do see that Dolbathan and Bowman, again, interestingly decides to just take out the boat to improve his Pyro click odds. I'm trying to think. It's definitely an interesting choice. Yeah, it's certainly one way you can do it. Unfortunately for Coley, his Marauder has not been killed by the Pyrotech, which I'm sure he'll find very disappointing, because that would have obviously enabled his War of Clans.
But now he has a target to tin the ship out of the deck.
He does get to play his raiding fleet now. I wonder if we see the TA used. We do. It looks like C. Coley does indeed commit that TA, and so he will... robs you of the ST experience. This is very true. Red Room in the chat. Let us know that the ST player's hand is relatively important to how they end up playing the round. But to be fair, this is not a bad round for ST. They do just kind of want to sandbag, generally speaking, not really commit too much value. And about here is the ST players when you're going to start to decide, okay, do I want to commit some things to win the round, or am I going to essentially just bronze out? Coley does have the opportunity to pass next turn, of course. So HANNSU can't get too cheeky, or else he might be forced to commit leader charges, which
you
would be
might not have
suboptimal.
a reach with 2 bronzes, because bronzes are playing for like -1 value on the ship, and also there is a bleed. So
So there's a chance that you'd have to commit leader charges and the aileron to get ahead here, and he does indeed decide to bow out, not only in the sense of the round, but also his leader bowing the initiative away to Skellige. And so Skellige will now have the choice on whether they want to try and bleed the elves or try to take them on in a long round. Coley does have some cards that can lend themselves to a bleed. I would suspect he will think about bleeding, but we'll obviously have to see
elves
what he
are
decides to
kind
do.
of scary.
Yeah, elves in a long round are
with a lone
pretty
crowd.
terrifying.
Yeah, so
You see him mulliganing away the Morkvarg.
Yeah, just mulligan a 10 provision. Oh, what's his
but
10 provision? Yeah, but there is no target for that.
No.
A great target.
So he has not found the Beagle, which is not great for him. It'll be interesting if it impacts his decision. This is not what you'd call an ideal bleeding hand. Although I suppose you could look at it, there's nothing in his hand you would be absolutely furious that you've played to try and shorten the round 3. The biggest thing that Skellige wants to try to do is to separate the scenario from cards like Vernostrel, Essengrim, and those kind of things. Yeah. So trying to split the rounds instead of one long round into 2 shorter rounds would definitely be beneficial for the more, just kind of raw value points that Coley can put out there. But yeah, it might be very tough in this scenario because he doesn't have the Beagle, he doesn't have the opportunity to play quite a lot of the cards in his deck, and he's not even it's not like he's guaranteed to draw it next round either. So it's a difficult spot for him, but we'll see how he approaches it.
Yeah, decides to lead with the Raider, not committing something big like a totem on turn 1, so we'll see how the round proceeds. Does develop like a potential 2 damage, and then he has 5 points extra coming from the War of Clans if needed, but it's not like this elf list is running targets that you'd want to remove immediately from the board. So
no, there aren't many engines here, which obviously will somewhat impact the value of Coleman's leader as well, you'd presume. Generally, from what I've seen in this matchup, you do tend to you end up in a situation where you're trying to kill off Deadeyes to try and deny Vernostrel and Essengrim value, that sort of thing. Coley has committed now to the bleeds, so he is obviously, of course, in danger of losing his card. The Maxi being played by the Elves, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, I suppose, as a card that can definitely help the Elves try and find some of those high-end goals. A very useful Dragoon coming out for HANNSU here,
doing his job of moving stuff around. Denying the engine, so Cole, yes, like since HANNSU is not playing a big heavy hitter goals at the moment, Cole is finding an ability to pass if he wants to, but I don't think you're like pretty happy with what you bled out so far. So we see that he
hasn't really achieved anything.
Yeah, he prepares,
and so he does commit the totem.
So I wonder. Wait, I guess it's Discord, so Cole's I think the picture is kinda laggy, but yeah.
Mine is moving again, hopefully yours as well.
So you get the lag from time to time as well, right?
It's a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's not like my internet being...
I could also blame your internet if you like.
Thank you.
If that helps. But yeah, Coley committing the totem to this bleeding situation. HANNSU, again, this is one of the things that elves can do very well. They can just stick around with leader charge, with aileron still, you would hope for HANNSU's sake, in deck. They have ability to reach pretty well. We do see the Kiaran come out here.
So another
I suppose
elf.
We have seen... Yeah, another elf, so the possibility of Aileron becoming more and more real. Obviously, Kiaran, usually, you know, something you try and reserve for a big lock target, but at the moment, it doesn't look like there will be a better lock target because you do have only one real engine remaining for Coley, which is the Hercule that is currently stuck in his deck. But obviously that couldn't be locked anyway because of the Veil on Hercule. And so with both boats gone, Kiaran's value does decrease. So finding a 2-point lock for him is not a bad result for HANNSU. You do see the carryover church committed by Coley here.
Yes, the new name for a card. People adopted after life coach streams. Carryover church playing for Bear Witcher. Setting up some blatters so that Donor is activated now.
Yeah, Donor is online. He does have the ability to obviously play the next Bear Witcher and click should he so choose. And essentially what he's trying to do now is fork HANNSU, and we do finally see a gold commitment coming from HANNSU here. The Redea committed to this rounds to try and defend off this bleed. It's interesting from Coley's point of view. This is where these are the big money plays, I suppose you could say it that way. That this is where Kolemoen's decision making is going to be crucial in terms of deciding when he stops bleeding, if it's worth trying. The Redea really signals a scenario could be coming out next, right? So the question for Coley is: would you take being a card down in order to get the scenario out? So he'll currently be thinking about all the different kind of hand combinations that HANNSU could have. One thing that's worth noting, I think it's relatively unlikely that Coley would be able to 2-0 here. But it looks like he is planning to play this Bear Witcher. He's not in a rush to click the church, but he absolutely can play this, and it looks like he's going to choose to. We do see it, but he does click the church.
Okay, so gets 19 points ahead, but it's not really 19 points because there are 4 elves available on the board. So yeah, 4 hidden points, 4 elves, and a Evelyn jumping out. So that spells out losing a card most likely.
Yeah, well, especially if we do see a Samaro committed, I suppose. Excuse me for a moment. I suppose one point from Hans's side is, does he think he can get away with not committing a scenario here? In theory, some Elf Swarm and the Aileron out, especially because, of course, the Skellige does not have a Heat Wave in order to answer the scenario. It could be a thought process of his that he's trying to get out this round as cheaply as possible. Yeah. He may have even been hoping that Redea was going to be enough. We have seen it just skipped for me, so I'm not quite sure, but I do notice a missing Bear Witcher. So I would assume that was the Heat Wave.
7 on the board, yes, a Heat Wave happened, and yeah, seems like Discord is also lagging a bit from time to time. Not like dramatically, but we did miss a card bleed, so...
So Donor now able to remove an elf from the boards.
Yes.
And now we're getting to a point. I did previously say I don't think Coley can 2-0 here, but HANNSU is continuing to play pretty slowly overall.
And
if he doesn't have access to the scenario, this could actually spell trouble for him. Well, he does obviously a lot of leader charges, and as we keep mentioning, that Aileron, again, we would hope from HANNSU's point of view, sitting in the deck and not in his hand. Not seeing HANNSU's hand, he could be in a difficult situation with not many golds and an Aileron in hand. Here is obviously the nightmare scenario for the Elves player. Yeah, but he's down a fair amount of points on board.
I guess he can catch up with like Vermicell, the click on the Saber and whatnot.
Well, but, there goes that question. A Neuromancy, and here we do see the scenario come out for HANNSU. We'll presumably see the click. And here it is.
And what does it make point-wise? How big is the gap after Aurelin? So
he is going to commit the leader charges.
Go for 2 leader charges. So Ole kind of got what he wanted in terms of like forcing a good card
he's
out.
Definitely got a lot of cards out. So another question for Coley. 2 leader charges is huge. One of the things the Elf player would like to ideally do is keep as many leader charges as possible for round 3. But forcing HANNSU out into taking those. Coley still has all 9 points in his leader. The question now for Coley is, one, is there any worth in shortening the round? And is there any, does he think he's going to be able to trade up?
So
there's a few
what's
ways
the
of looking at
second
it.
best target after Ade and Maxi? Like third best target for Turkve anyway?
Yeah, the Turvey's not going to be getting a lot better, but it will still be a 7-point card that
Yeah,
takes the base value
7-point
away from one
body.
card. It's still a strong card. Coley's decided there's no worth in bleeding any further. He's happy with what he's got this round. So he has a card down, but it's a Redea deck, no Redea, no scenario. And we do see, finally, Coley is getting access to some of those
Yeah,
big
the
cards we were talking
Eagle
about. He's got the
and
Herald, got the Blood
the
Eagle and
Harald.
Vabjorn.
So there is
Obviously,
still...
nowadays, you cannot tutor Morkvarg anymore, but he will not mind. It is probably the Skjordal he'll be looking to tutor. Unless he just draws into it, in which case
Yeah,
he doesn't need to.
just draw the cards and you
Yeah,
got
just
it
draw the
going for ya.
cards. So this is a pretty strong Skellige hand. Obviously not quite as strong as perhaps an Iced might be in this scenario, but he's still going to have a lot of points. I would presume we would see a Herkia off of the Blood Eagle. Obviously, we've seen a lot of the potential answers for it go already. We've seen several movement cards. We've seen the Heat Wave go. So there's a decent chance that Coley thinks his Herkia can get some good value here, but we'll have to see how it plays out. HANNSU now having to lead into him, and he knows that there's going to be a lot of damage coming out of Kolemoen's side here.
So those elves you need to plan, like, if you still can get Aerilyn out. You have a leader charge that helps after, like...
I believe Aerilyn was played last round.
Oh
no?
wait, yeah, it jumped out,
Yeah.
sorry. I was just thinking about the elf count, and Aerilyn, like, crawled back, like she does sometimes from the deck, when you forget about her there. But yeah, sure. But now the leader clicks, they are not removing any engines, so you just want to decrease the elf population on HANNSU's side of the board if you're Kolemoeen. So you get to you are getting to cosplay Ryle somewhat.
Pretty much, but it's interesting. There's actually quite a few plays I could potentially see, but yes, this is one of them. Skjordling just to get rid of the Verno, getting rid of the body. I wonder now if he might take a Herkia click, but he does decide to use double leader charge, and yet, as you say, just getting rid of that elf swarm delays establishing his own, engines in terms of the Herald and the Herkia, but absolutely trying to get rid of all of those elves and leaving HANNSU as few possibilities for his elf swarm payoff cards to achieve the kind of value they would need to in order to beat the Skellige.
Okay, so last leader charge is being played, and there are your round 3 Radea draws somewhat.
Yep. Well, this is the sacrifice you do make playing the card.
But Kolemoeen just needs to find what Latigal Herkia and leader click potentially denying the vitality, but no, goes for a raider.
Just goes for the Herald. He's thinking about the click, but he decides not to take it. We still have plenty of damage coming out from Kolemoeen here, so I guess maybe he doesn't feel the need to take the click yet. One interesting thing as well, depending on how many points HANNSU puts onto the board, I wonder if Coley ever takes a decision that he's actually just between the leader, the Herald, the War of Clans, the Turkey. He's got enough damage, and so he might... I mean, I severely doubt you take a Raider over a Herkia, but I suppose in theory, there's a scenario where Herkia just doesn't even hit anything. But I think in that scenario, you're just winning anyway, right?
Yeah, if the board is clean, then there is a Yavin. There is a
Yavin. There's a Yavin, but there's a Dryad and there's a Witcher.
Yeah, all that, like, it's like watching Harmony at the moment, kinda. Because all the species, all the races are being represented.
Yeah, this is not the classic hand you want as elves. But the points are still relatively close. And there could still be some big cards left for HANNSU. Although, I say that, Radea gone. Scenario gone. Verno gone.
Verno gone, yeah.
So
Aerolin
most
is
of the kind of
not
general, I think,
jumping
is there still an
out.
Oak in this list, I want to say?
Let's keep
So we do
this
take the
mystery for
Herkia,
now.
and we've got some nice RNG pings for Coley, allowing him to deny
Yeah.
a body and some value there. I imagine at this point he'll probably just float the Herkia, at least for now.
I mean, he can
Although,
leader and see how close it is to like Herkia killing it. Okay, didn't get one strength, did I? But yeah,
I think if
clicking
he
it
had gotten one strength
basically
data, I may well have
translates
tried
into
it.
the same. Like you're getting one extra point from Herkia anyway.
But even here, I mean, currently you still clean up the board easily with War of Clans and
Yes.
Herkia. I
You
do
see,
think it's going to be very tough for HANNSU from this point. I don't think he's got the cards left to do this.
oh yeah, there goes the Yavin for the massive 2-point damage. So
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
it's still close to board wipe by the end of the game. Like, of course, HANNSU has the last say, so there is what still Isengrim is not wasn't played yet, right?
Yeah, but I don't think Isengrim is exactly doing
Nah,
much of
I mean,
hustling for
yeah,
HANNSU.
Isengrim is late to the party. When party is already done, like everyone is back to the forest.
Everyone's gone
Comes
home.
out.
The Arcade is just going to clean up the board. Yeah. You still have a target incoming. This is a very clear win for Coleman, I think, at this point.
At this
Which will
point,
put him in a very advantageous spot.
I don't think Radea deck has the two cards that make it happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we just see the forfeit. So game one goes the way of Colemoeen.
So...
And yeah, the ability of this deck to control and to put out damage is definitely scary.
To go through, to get through, and HANNSU is playing Skellige on blue coin. So what is
This time we see what a round one Radea hand tends to look like.
Yes, the spores against
not particularly optimal.
Aerolin in hand, not the cards you'd want. Good
the
cards.
spores also presumably incredibly useless against Skellige.
Yeah. Okay, Oneiromancy fixes like at least problem of missing 2 golds, but your supporting cast of like bombers, you have Maxi, you have a couple of bronzes, you have even the carryover elf that has targets, so there is
honestly it's not the worst just because you are red coin and the general plan of this deck is to play pretty slow from red, so if there's a deck that can get away with having this kind of hand, it may well be this one on red coin.
So we see the Mask of Ouroboros ready to tin.
So radar developed by HANNSU. I'll be interested if Coley opens Maxi. He decides to try and stick a Swordmaster. Swordmaster could potentially bait out some thinning. Pyrotech can also just be annoying and sit there with his armor. It does look like it's going to be
attacks, odds getting being made a bit worse, I guess, by the mask click. As in, like, yeah, you can play the Broker Hunter back row, click the mask. But yeah, it depends if HANNSU finds... no, you don't need Coral or anything. There is just a stunning blow.
There's 2 stunning blows, I believe.
Yeah, there is a second one incoming.
So there's Coley's first blow of the day. Whether he gets a second or not will remain to be seen. One thing worth noting is generally the mask wants to kind of be clicked in the same turn it crawls on the board to try and get some value of
Yeah.
wiping points. We
So,
now
yeah.
do see the commitment of Saboteur to buff up the Kiaran.
Yeah, I wouldn't name it a commitment. You are happy to play that card round 1 and not mulligan into that later on, but yeah, gets the carry over. Decides not to buff the Swordmaster, so wants to carry the points. Is it working for you?
The Brock for
Okay,
Hunter.
yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Once
So
again,
he wants Swordmaster. I think he's trying to get this coral out. Is what I would guess. He wants to see the coral coming out of HANNSU. The Hunter was just spending a little bit of time floating in the air, minding his own business before being called into battle.
Yes.
We've seen obviously HANNSU. It's an awkward one for the SK because you have all of this tempo and these points that, especially with the mask, you're sort of incentivized to play round 1. But he might try to not commit so much if he can here. We do see the skirmisher come down though.
Okay, so clicks the mask before the coral, so I guess decides to just play bronzes at this point, giving Kole the opportunity to commit something if he really wants to.
I suspect the line from Cole is going to be just continuing to play his bronzes.
But once again, yeah, the question is, can you play to 5 cards still with bronzes? Because you might be forced out of Airlane.
This deck is rough. Verno bottom card. In the bottom 5, you have 4 of your best golds. This is not really what you want to see.
That's not how you top deck. That's how you bottom deck, indeed.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Maxi, as we said, can have some great value in this deck just by allowing you a better chance to find some of those golds. And with a deck like that, if you didn't have the Maxi, it would have been a rough game, to say the least.
Every mulligan with this bottom deck would have been like every mulligan, another drop of hope is like getting out of you. Going away and you still don't find, because there is still 15 cards, so yeah, having 6 golds at the bottom, not ideal. But what do we have now? So 12 points for Kole to play in 2 cards. You cannot do that by like playing just cheap bronzes, right? It's
no, I don't believe
short.
so.
It's 6 and 6. I mean, he can do that with like 1 leader chart. Oh wait, Bomber and Dryad might have done it, but yeah, there is the Morkvark playing as a bronze value card. 6 points only.
Yep. This is the point at which Skellica can start to think about passing.
So yeah.
Again, it'll be up to Cole if he feels like committing anything. I would not be surprised to see a pass here, though.
Yeah, it's 18 points after all. You are not going to win it without like Vernocell and the bronze and like Aerolin, so most likely a pass. Although Kole just experienced the other side of this fight. Raids in Brokilon forests by Skiriki pirates, so might be afraid.
To keep playing.
Okay, so yeah, he decides to keep playing. Maybe the memory is still fresh of warriors raid in there. Healing Dryads, Witchers, Elves, without any respect.
The carryover church comes in once again.
Okay, so Hankadu being played here. Yeah, the carryover takes some FPS away, so but there we are. So this is now this is a pass, right? You're not making a 20 point.
Well, it's certainly difficult to play into this just from the point of view that it's a lot of commitment to get there.
Yeah, but
So, yeah.
this risk paid off. Like getting, like, not the risk, but still, like, you got the choke onto the board from the
Yeah,
opponent
Duka is definitely a card
without
you want to see.
committing anything. So not the worst trade in the history of all Gwent trades. The
What is the worst trade in the history of all Gwent trades?
I don't know, bronze 4, I'd say 4 strength, 4 provisions bronze plate, and you cannot catch up by playing Haunt. That's the worst trade. Your opponent just clicks that pass. Discord is
Yeah. That's scenario commitment for bronze might actually be theoretically one of the biggest problematic
I'm
trades.
a witcher, not a gigolo.
Vivian Bird against this scenario is also an awesome trade.
What do you mean? No. That was always the best trade in the game because it worked 100% of the time. You clearly didn't read the leaflets. But in any case, jokes aside, we do
so HANNSU
unsurprisingly see commitment from HANNSU here.
There is a scenario, there is a Radea, there is a Oniromancy, so Kole is pretty happy. Avrilin is not in hand as well. Complain about that, so pretty good bleed resist, and decides to just slam the scenario, get in ahead as well.
This is why ST scenario is the best scenario in the game, because it grows in points even if you don't play. It's 5 points and not 4. Busted.
Yeah, it's busted, especially the commander that suffers from you playing any dwarfs. And there is the second blow of the day, and potentially the last one as well.
Well, it remains to be seen, but Kole now, it's almost impossible to not tempo head, isn't it? I think it's pretty much impossible that every card he plays gets in the head now.
Yeah. I guess you can on Aero for, I don't know, Squirrel?
Squirrel, yeah, there you go. A Nero Squirrel, perfect.
Or you can play the Witcher Adept and click the opponent's melee row. I guess there are lines, but not the obvious.
It doesn't take any of them, disgracefully I might add.
Yeah.
HANNSU, unless I am mistaken, does not have Blood Eagle in his list. It is the discard package with cards like Burner and Coral. I wouldn't be too surprised to see something like a Coral coming down here. Again, trying to limit the number of elves that Kole can get to stick. But we will see what he decides to go for here. I'm trying not to talk for too long, so you can talk.
Yeah, so with the Hunter on board, yeah, and damage being present in Kole's hand, we will see the tactic coming from the second chapter of scenario also proccing, and the bomber is setting up exactly that easily. Or you can just play the Wicked Officer, damage the Bear Witcher, and finish him off with the Waylay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the officer come out. It's a pretty neat play. Could also be the bomber, I suppose, but the bomber does give the church immediate click value. Whereas this way you can avoid giving any sort of value to that.
Okay, yeah, goes for
Does
the
decide
officer.
to go for that Bear Witcher line. And
So
we will have, I believe, an Aileron coming out.
Yeah. Also has the orders on the Neophytes. Just increasing the number of dead eyes by not increasing, but yeah, restoring dead eye to 3 strength. Next slide, please. Yeah, write to Discord support about that.
Yeah. First of all, write to Gwent support because the Turbine client didn't work, and then write to Discord. As long as you don't blame me, Kung Fu, or anyone else involved. We take zero responsibility, Pepe smile. But yeah, so obviously now HANNSU finds himself in that tough spot of trying to decide how much he wants to commit.
HANNSU was playing Hjalmar, right, on his list? Or was it different player? No, we seen Morkvark, I don't think it was, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's the Morkvark and Turgve.
Yes.
And Totem, I believe. So you see, obviously, the Jenga that isn't looking to get too much value.
Yes.
This is kind of a 2-point bomber if HANNSU decides to keep playing. However, doesn't matter. He has enough of a lead to where Kole can kind of play very, very slowly and just wait for HANNSU to show some sort of sign of intent.
Yeah, but HANNSU also must get to the point where he is playing golds, like trading for...
Yeah, well here's the Turgve.
Yeah, not the best cards he'd want to see. There is still an Aeromancy in Kole's hand. Although, yeah.
He doesn't know that, to be fair, but yeah.
Yeah. There is
He's going to take an arrow for the Purify, I would presume.
There's a Purify Elf in the deck, yeah. Playing for...
Poor Turgve.
Yeah, basically. For 5 extra points. Not being a 5-point bronze feels good.
It's unfortunate for HANNSU, it is his second 6 for 10 of the game, which is usually not the best sign, to be totally honest.
And yeah, the only bronze HANNSU decided to commit here was the Turkey. Didn't work out perfectly. But yeah, looking at Kole's hand at the moment, it is a fighting hand. Like, yeah, you get your Onero or your top deck Werner as well.
Oh my word, Kole has the nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, he's missing one of
the two elves, though.
I'm fairly confident you don't care.
So the Maxi,
true, Maxi saves the day.
Has been putting work into this. And yeah, Kole also, by committing Scenario, immediately managed to save all the leader charges.
Yeah, which is again a big deal.
Big deal.
9 phantom points that your opponent can't interact with until you choose for them to be able to, which is usually in a turn where you're getting some sort of payoff for it. So it looks like he's going to open Vernostril just for some proactive points.
Or maybe decide. Second go. The slides are keeping us intrigued, but in the end, yeah, Vernostril hits the board. Okay, awkward sequence of slides for a while. Is it as laggy for you?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay, so...
It's just one of those things we have to try and deal with as best we can.
Yeah, I was just thinking maybe I should restart the stream, but yeah, if it's the same for you, it doesn't really accomplish much.
No. So we do see a Herald. Obviously, HANNSU is going to have a lot of points here if he's drawn the top end golds. We've still to see a totem. We've obviously still to see the ice come out. I'm slightly surprised he's created a 1 here. That's very much feeds into Elias value. We also haven't really seen any of the discard either, have we? We haven't seen a Burner. We haven't seen a Coral.
Yeah, nothing of sorts has been played. There was only like Mass Click put in, nothing else. Yeah, alias is being taken.
Yeah, and this is a pretty dream alias for you, converting a 1.
Yeah. Removing Bloodthirst, converting a 1 into another 3.
And
But
yeah,
I guess HANNSU wanted to like try and set up the Bloodthirst so that if Isengrim is played earlier, the unit stays
oof,
red. Okay, Birna is finding her discard targets here.
this is indeed.
That was
We're
a
going to see the lock coming down now from Coley, getting rid of this hunter. It's the only real lock target he's going to have left.
yeah, everything else is either wheeled or playing for raw value immediately.
If he does have
So
the ice,
now
still some points though.
Ice is the points, but is it enough points? Like you're not getting full 12 damage on your leader, so your dream power play is not happening.
You also don't, you know, it seems unlikely he's going to be able to set up Bloodthirst from this point.
Yeah.
The fact they played Burna before a potential Coral leads me to think he probably did not have the Coral in hand at the time of playing Burna. Something worth noting as well. Here comes the heist. Do 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 do.
Graham
I see.
Graham is being applied.
So it would seem, or at least you'd imagine, that means he's drawn into. He's drawn into the Jutta.
Yeah.
See if we'll see if Coley elects to kill the ice. I don't really think he should. Actually, okay. So if there's a coral in hand, and killing ice is worth it.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting line, wouldn't it? So what, he goes to deny the Bloodthirst? Oh no, just kills. Yeah, just goes for killing
Just
the
kills the
ice.
ice.
I thought it froze in the moment where he decided to like click the full leader, but no, it was just a setup for an oak.
Well, with no
So
leader left, no
yeah,
Harold's already down. What best 2 cards would be what Totem and well, not Scald.
yeah. He also like I wasn't following exactly which cards he played, like from the right or from the left. Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Coley, and yet sure enough, the Jutta was in hand. Feels bad for HANNSU. But it is the risk you take with running the ice discard package that unfortunately that can happen.
yeah, like the deck has Birna, Coral. It has Morkworth, all Graham missed all those untutorable cards, and yeah, he got the Totem as the
So
last card after these cards, so rated
ends up a
his
pretty resounding victory for Coley at the end of the day,
yeah.
which allows him to take this set 2-0.
So yeah.
So a very good start for Team Germany, and Japan now on the back foot, having to win the next 2 sets in order to try and beat Germany.